5 signs God is calling you into a new season, even in the midst of grief. There comes a moment when what used to fit no longer does. When what was once a place of comfort starts to feel like confinement. When the tears you've cried over what you've lost become the water for what God is about to grow next. If you're navigating grief, loss, or transition, I believe this word is for you. These are 5 prophetic signs that God is calling you into a new season even if your heart is still healing. Sign 1. Discomfort in what was once comfortable. Sometimes, the places that once brought you peace no longer feel like home. The routines that once gave you rhythm now feel like a burden. What once felt full now feels hollow. That's not failure, that's a sign. A sign that your soul is shifting because God is leading you forward. When loss hits your life, the death of someone you loved deeply, the end of a season you thought would last forever, everything familiar is disrupted. Not because God authored the pain, but because in the ache He meets you with invitation. He's not asking you to forget the one you lost. He's not pushing you to move on as if nothing happened, but He is calling you to walk with Him through the unfamiliar, to follow Him into a future you didn't plan for but He already prepared. Sometimes we try to restore what can't be rebuilt. We cling to routines, relationships, roles, or expectations, not because they still fit, but because they're all we've known. But hear me prophetically, God will not let you find comfort in what no longer carries your calling. He allows the unrest, not to punish you, but to prompt you, that unease in your spirit, that ache when you try to return to the old normal. It's not just grief, it's also God whispering, "You won't find me where I used to be, I'm leading you forward." Grief is real, but so is glory, and the tension between the two is where your new season is being born. You're not betraying the past by stepping into the future, you're honoring what was by trusting the one who holds what's next. Let this be your confirmation. The shaking of the familiar is not your undoing, it's your release. You don't have to fix what's been broken. You don't have to make it make sense. You just have to follow the cloud even if it's moving through the wilderness. This is your Exodus moment, and God is saying you don't have to go back to Egypt to prove your love. I'm calling you forward into promise. You can carry the memories, but you don't have to carry the weight. You can grieve the loss and still embrace the life that's ahead. This discomfort is divine. It's not the absence of God. It's the invitation of God, calling you out of what's familiar and into what's next. Sign 2. You're hearing the same message over and over when loss shakes your world. Your spirit is vulnerable, raw, and God's voice often comes in whispers, echoes, and repeat messages. Sometimes it's a sermon that pierces your heart. Sometimes a song plays like it's written just for your moment. Sometimes a verse in scripture refuses to let go. Sometimes a conversation with a friend or even a stranger speaks straight to your soul. If you're hearing the same message again and again, words like move, transition, next, trust, faith, don't ignore it. This is not a coincidence. This is God's unmistakable confirmation. God is speaking to you in a language your heart needs to hear, even if your mind is still wrestling with the pain. He's not calling you to forget the past, but to lean into the future He's preparing. He's not rushing you out of grief, but inviting you to step forward in faith. Hear this prophetically. When God repeats His message, it's because He's breaking through the noise of your fears and doubts. It's His way of saying, "I'm still here, I have a plan, and now is the time to move." Your heart might still be heavy, your steps might still feel slow, but the echo of His voice is a beacon cutting through the darkness, reminding you that your new season is not just possible, it's promised. This repetition is grace. It's mercy that meets you where you are. It's God's steady hand on your shoulder, urging you forward even when you can't see the whole path. So lean into it, listen closely, let the repeated words take root deep in your spirit, and declare it with me now. God, I hear you, and I will respond with obedience. Obedience doesn't mean having it all figured out. It means trusting God enough to take the next step, even if it's trembling. It means moving forward, carrying grief but not weighed down by it. It means saying yes to God's voice, over and over, until that yes becomes your new song. This is the sound of breakthrough, the voice of your new season. As you begin to say yes to God's repeated call, you'll notice something else happening in your journey. Some doors you once tried to keep open begin to close, not to punish you, but to protect you. God is clearing the path ahead, removing what no longer serves your purpose or your healing. It's tempting to reach back, to try reopening those doors with all your might, but that's not God's plan. He's inviting you to step fully into the new season He's preparing, not to cling to what is behind. Let's move now into sign 3, because it's vital to understand this part of the process in your grief and breakthrough. Sign 3. Old doors are closing and you can't reopen them in grief. We often find ourselves reaching for what is lost: relationships, roles, routines, even dreams. But sometimes God says, no, not to punish, but to protect. When doors close, opportunities dry up, connections fade, old ways of doing life no longer work. It's a divine signal. It's God's hand gently, firmly guiding you away from paths that would only lead to more pain or delay your healing. You might feel the ache of loss deepen when a door closes. You might wrestle with questions. Why now? Why this way? But hear this. Closed doors are not the end. They're a sacred invitation to trust. God is making space in your life for what is next. He is preparing new doors, to open doors you haven't yet imagined. Doors aligned with His promise, your purpose, and your healing. You can't force these doors back open. No amount of willpower or prayers to reverse what God has closed will bring peace. But you can choose to stop chasing the closed doors and instead walk confidently through the open ones. Declare this truth with me. If God shut it, I won't chase it. I'm walking through the door He's opening. This declaration is a prophetic act of trust, a breaking off from what holds you back, and a stepping into what God is ready to give. The closed doors don't define your story. God's open doors do. Grief often magnifies the pain of closed doors because what's behind them isn't just opportunity, it's a piece of your heart, your history, your what was. It's natural to want to go back, to reclaim what's lost. But God's call is forward. His promise is for a future shaped not by what has been, but by what will be on this season. Your faith is tested not by what you hold on to, but by what you release. Let go of the doors God is closed, not out of defeat, but out of faith that He's holding the keys to new doors. When you choose obedience over insistence, peace replaces frustration. When you embrace God's timing, hope replaces despair. Remember, God is not silent in the closing. He is speaking a new beginning. Even if you don't yet see the open door clearly, trust that God's hand is on your journey. Your pain is not wasted, your tears are not ignored. God is weaving your loss into your next season of purpose and promise. As you release what God has closed and step into the space He's creating, you'll begin to sense a stirring deep within your soul. It's a hunger, a divine hunger for something more than you've ever known. This hunger is not about chasing empty desires or rushing the process. It's about God awakening your spirit, calling you into fullness and purpose. This brings us to sin, for there's a growing hunger for more. There comes a moment in grief when the silence gets loud, not because your sorrow is gone, but because your spirit starts to whisper. There's more to this story. It doesn't mean you're forgetting who or what you lost. It means you're beginning to remember who you are and why you're still here. That ache inside you, that restlessness in your spirit, that feeling that something's missing even in your routine. That's not just emotion. That's invitation. God is stirring your soul because the place where you've been emotionally, spiritually, even physically no longer matches where He's taking you. You've outgrown the wilderness you've been surviving in. You're no longer satisfied with surface-level comfort. You crave depth now. Depth in prayer, depth in relationships, depth in calling, depth in meaning. It's a divine hunger, a sacred appetite. And God is saying, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." Matthew 5 verse 6. You may feel guilty for wanting more, especially when you're still grieving. But listen, grief and growth can coexist. God isn't calling you to bury your pain. He's calling you to build with it. This hunger is not ambition, it's alignment. It's your spirit remembering there's a purpose on your life that loss could not cancel. Yes, you're still healing, but you're also waking up. You're starting to see glimpses of the next, even while honoring what was. And that's okay. That's holy. That's what forward feels like. Make this declaration. I will no longer apologize for wanting what God put in my spirit. I will not shrink back. I will not settle. I will steward this hunger and I will follow it into my next. Sign 5. You feel called to do it afraid. There's a moment after grief where you realize life doesn't wait for you to feel ready, and neither does purpose. It's that something inside you is beginning to outgrow the fear. Yes, your hands are still shaking. Yes, the unknown still makes your stomach turn. But in the middle of all that fear is faith. You're not being reckless. You're being called. Because the next season God is leading you into isn't one you can walk into on your own strength. It's bigger than you on purpose. God sized it that way so you'd never forget who's really leading you. He's not asking you to feel brave. He's asking you to follow Him anyway. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it's obedience in the presence of it. There's someone listening to this who feels disqualified by their loss, but God didn't change His mind about you. Your grief didn't revoke your calling. Your pain didn't push you off His path. In fact, your pain has become the platform, not for perfection, but for power. In 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, God says, "My strength is made perfect in weakness." So don't wait to feel confident. Don't wait until the tears stop. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. If God is calling, move anyway. Do it with the questions. Do it with the limp. Do it with trembling hands and tear-stained faith. You are not stepping out alone. You're stepping out with God. And when you to walk in obedience, even afraid. Heaven moves with you. Make this declaration. I may not feel ready, but I am called, and I am going forward. I choose faith over fear. I choose obedience over comfort. I will not miss my moment. Your new season starts with a step. You've seen the signs. The comfort you once knew doesn't fit anymore. You keep hearing the same message, again and again. Move, trust, obey. The doors you used to rely on have closed, and no matter how hard you try, they won't reopen. There's a hunger rising inside you that can't be explained by logic or ambition. It's purpose, awakened, and now you feel the pull, not to wait until you're fearless, but to move even while afraid. These aren't coincidences, these are confirmations. God is calling you into your new season, not to forget what you've walked through, but to be formed by it. Your grief wasn't wasted. Your loss didn't disqualify you. Your pain didn't cancel your calling. If anything, it's carved out space in you for deeper faith, for greater surrender, for prophetic clarity. This is a divine invitation. God isn't pushing you to get over the loss. He's inviting you to walk with him through it, into what's next. And if you're waiting for a sign to move forward, this is it. Your next season won't look like your last. It won't feel like what you're used to. And it may not come with all the answers, but it will come with God, and that's all you need. Make this final declaration. Lord, I see the signs. I trust your timing. I say yes to your invitation. I'm not waiting to feel ready. I'm walking by faith. This is my season of surrender, obedience, and bold transition. And I declare, I'm stepping into what's next. If this word spoke to your spirit, don't let it just pass by. Respond. Type in the comments, I see the signs. I'm stepping in. Share which sign resonated with you the most. Send this to someone who's grieving, waiting, or searching for clarity. This might be the sign they've been praying for. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe, because this space is for those who refuse to stay stuck in the past and are ready to walk into the future with faith, fire, and focus. Your next begins now, and heaven is walking